Hello and welcome to another Writer's Showcase. We're at number 149. Let me just bring in the guests, starting with Mr. Carl.
Hello, hello.
All right, and let's bring in our favorite planner of world domination, Mr. Count Perion.
What do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
Well, duh.
I mean, what else are you supposed to do?
Quick question: what's your tax/general campaign going to be for taking over the world, Mr. Valerian?
Oh, like I'm going to reveal that.
No, I mean, like, what are the laws you're going to institute once you get it into supreme power?
Oh, I'm sorry. Like things like, make this huge big golden idols in my honor, have people prostrate themselves on the ground before them, and, just give me globs of stuff and whatnot. And needless to say, there'll be a huge harem and all that rot.
What are your thoughts on a land value tax?
I'll let someone else worry about that.
All right. Tell you what, I'll help you take over the world if you let me be your economic planner. How does that sound?
You realize that all the money that will be going to like making huge big idols of people to worship and generally and sacrifices and all that rot, right?
Well, nothing a quick little assassination can't fix.
What?
What? No, you said something.
What was that? What was that?
Anyways, anyhow, who wants to go first?
So where do I figure into your world domination government? Am I just going to get summarily executed for being a cringe asshole?
I'm trying to figure, should I execute you or should I turn you into a janitor or something? Utterly humiliating. Utterly humiliating. Then once a day have you come and be brought before me and grovel, begging to be allowed to do more, clean up more filthy toilets. And also, yes, you may clean up some more filthy toilets. How would that be?
I expected something a little bit more creative.
Sorry, I'm not feeling. No, this is a writers' club. You expect creativity?
Yeah.
You're asking an awful lot, I must say.
Probably yes. All right. Any specific needs as far as what is it?
I don't have any time restraints, if that's what you mean.
Okay.
I should be getting my lunch soon. So
Yeah. So how about we go counterclockwise then? And you can go first. That way we don't have to. You don't have to try to do anything in your lunch.
okay.
All right. Sounds good.
Okay, and I'm guessing you can remember last week reasonably well. So the emperor had died, and a bunch of imperial people were meeting. And the emperor's son, the sarcastic one, is sort of expecting. Well, we'll find out when I start reading here. Mpu'u had never had much doubt of the meeting's outcome. He and his friends, well, lackeys anyway, had planned things several months before Exalted demise. This didn't mean, however, that the choice of emperor was necessarily a foregone conclusion. It was indeed fortunate that the Garaji, that is Prime Minister Garawala Bamwerumi, was bribed, and the Yaji, the high priest, chronically bribed. But there were one or two difficult cases, of whom the worst was Juarama, who couldn't be bribed or blackmailed. He might have to be subtly threatened with what might happen to him if he didn't go with the flow, or perhaps just outvoted. That would be simpler, reflected Mpu'u. And the others mostly don't much like this archboar anyway. Ruling doesn't involve any actual work, does it? Ekwekwe the Younger was drawling in his lazy baritone as he took an umpteenth sniff of waka'a. Oh, not in the least, retorted Mpu'u, and took a sip of his beech fruit wine. Exalted, blessed be his memory, never did. Of course, the empire would have collapsed if Blessed Exalted hadn't died, but don't let that stop you. Who needs an empire anyway? Who needs an empire anyway? You are such an emaciated omai, said Ekwekwe. Footnote. Weird rodent. The idiom refers to someone who always sees the cloud and never the silver lining, a wet blanket, one who always rains on other people's parades, and not uncommonly on their own. And why aren't there any Saranjis here? Malala Ama tried to look grave. In recognition of the solemnity of the sad event, it was considered best to leave them out. As this lowly servant has had the honor of mentioning already, added the Garaji, sadly we cannot all do as what we like. I would prefer to be watching the boat races myself. Because you fixed them, sneered Zende. Mpu'u sighed loudly and waved his left arm in disdain. The races are suspended anyway, in recognition of Exalted, blessed be his memory's tragic demise. Now perhaps we could all get on with choosing his successor so this painful occasion can be put behind us. He diplomatically abstained from mentioning that the most painful part of all was being stuck with these idiots. It wouldn't do to call them idiots until after he'd been elected, or crowned, rather. Munululu'u's... Oh, sorry, a bit of a typo here. There. Munululu'u squealed obliviously, and Mpu'u covered his ears as best he could. Does my gown match my hair? And when's the next palace orgy? Under Ekwekwe IV, this would have been a stupid question since the orgy never ended. Come to think of it, it was rather a stupid question anyway. You all owe me blackmail money. Zende winked knowingly, except possibly Baranji, but she is nothing worth my bother of extorting anyway. You know, if you're going to be a scoundrel, you'd be a sight more effective if you were less transparent, said Mpu'u, raising an eyebrow. As for blackmail, well. Can I have another 1,458 golden emperors? Asked Zende, a little less culture. No, said Mpu'u. We've already discussed this. Can we please get on with the election? It hardly matters. You're all sinners, said Baranji in a quiet yet resonant contralto. I guess Juarama is the least sinful. He's only an unbelieving heretic. I'm not an unbeliever, said Juarama, raising both hands in a sweeping gesture that commonly threatened a lecture. The Lima Numoranat are not unbelievers. We've been in an accepted juristic school for centuries. The foundational documents of the school are the logical conclusions of direct citations from the Warmod, as can easily be shown. For example, Never mind, said Mpu'u. Some other time would perhaps be better suited to a discussion of schools of jurisprudence. We have important matters to discuss, urgent matters. And anyway, Princess Yuyeja almost screamed as usual. It doesn't help not being a heretic if one's a traitor instead. He shouldn't even be here. He should be killed, slowly. I'd suggest having him eaten alive by tiger birds. I have good dirt on him, said Zende. This was a bluff, of course. Juarama was one of the few Imperials on which there wasn't much dirt. The best thing about clothes is taking them off, pointed out Munululu'u, apropos of nothing, and burst into a fit of the giggles. Only Akwekwe the younger seemed at all impressed. Can we please stick to the point, pleaded Mpu'u, raising his princely staff. The sooner we finish this dreary business, the better. Perhaps, said Garawada Bemwerumi, as he rubbed a pimple, each glorious claimant might make a brief statement of what he will do if he is chosen. Since there are male claimants and exalted, blessed be his memory, did not name a female heir, we abjectly beg that the glorious imperial ladies limit themselves to voting and not put their names forward for exalted box. On behalf of glorious Sauron, I renounce the box, said Sauron's keeper promptly. Now Sauron is the criminally insane one. He was looking forward to buying a boatload of boats with the bribe money and then fixing the races so he always won. So he was as happy as a polka-dotted parrot. Little did he know that Garawala Bemerumi had already fixed most of them. You have all doubtless received and read my essay on the principles of right governance, which lays down my plans for my reign and the juristic philosophy whereon those plans are based, said Juarama, his pleasant baritone rising and falling with the regularity of a water clock as he began tapping points on his fingers. In them, I state that not only will I abolish debt slavery, revive the assembly, institute administrative improvements, lighten the burthens of tribute, but also, more importantly, why. Both the philosophical basis and the concrete ameliorativities of my policies will therefore be evident. Ekwekwe the younger looked confused, then nodded his indifference and took another couple of pinches of waka. I won't be an utter idiot like Blessed Exalted or his glorious namesake. I won't be a complete scoundrel like Zende, and I won't be a delusional revolutionary like Juarama, said Mpu'u. Oh, and I have actual experience in government, having frequently prevented Blessed Exalted from making even more of a mess of things than he did. I don't insist on being made emperor, said Zende, but I do expect to get a hefty pension. I have mountains of dirt on all of you, so I'd recommend not messing with me. Mpu'u coughed. There was a silence that lasted several minutes, broken only by Munululu'u's stifled giggling. I'm sorry, said Ekwekwe the younger with a fit of blinking, after an hiatus during which everyone stared at him. But what was the question again? What will glorious you do as emperor? Said Mpu'u, gritting his teeth. Blessed if I know, said Ekwekwe. What does one do? I think Exalted mostly drank, ate, took waka'a, and crumpled, so I suppose that's what I'll do as well. Not quite so messily, though. Some of the things Blessed Exalted got up to were ghastly. Respect from memory, of course, and all that. No one could say that Ekwekwe the younger wasn't honest. And that completed the stump speeches. The imperial family, apart from Juarama, liked to keep this sort of thing brief. Glorious ones have graced me abundantly, said Garaji. Now we humbly request that you all vote for your preferred ruler. Let glorious ones deign to write their votes on a honey tablet and place the tablet in the crimson vase, whatever, this lowly servant has placed upon the table. As long as Garawada But in my room, he absolutely had to do this chore. He figured he might as well do it right. When the votes were tallied, it was found that there were 2 votes for Joarama, 1 for anyone but me. It sounds a frightful nuisance, and 5 votes for Mpu'u. The votes go to glorious Mpu'u, said the Garaji, prostrating himself. He was looking forward to getting away. Perhaps the races were still on? No, of course not. They had been suspended and wouldn't resume until after the funeral. Bother. Mpu'u rose from his seat and bowed. All right, that settles that, he said. It is requested that Blessed make arrangements for my coronation. Exalted coronation. Whatever the correct form is. Oh, right. Better arrange Blessed Exalted Predecessor's funeral first, I suppose. I don't really care if we bury him in the sacred hallow or not. On second thoughts, may as well. He can always be removed if someone more worthy comes along, which shouldn't be difficult. We'll bury him on the Feast of Martyrdom of Ron. That's a popular day for imperial obsequies, for heaven knows what reason. He shook his head helplessly. It's probably not too great a desecration, he consoled himself. I doubt any of those tombs really houses the glorious ancestor in question. Anyway, except possibly Runja. Are we done? Inquired Ekwekwe. I can go back to my Saranjis. Yes, please do, said Mpu'u, and take our serpent of a brother with you. Zende just smirked. And that's that.
Well, I'm glad that I have forever ruined the word done forever.
Oh, God. I'm not.
Aw, I wanted the communists to win.
Yeah.
Ooh, I do like that comparison you made. Happy is a polka dotted parrot. That's really cool. I like that.
That is very neat. Agreed.
Yeah, I try to give idioms that will fit in the actual context of the world. And for some reason, I think that's the only time a polka dot parrot is mentioned. I should probably put a few more of them. There's also a red-masked lizard, which is anyone who's really, really stupid.
Yeah. And I do. I was interested in that response. That who needs an empire anyway? I said, man, if there are any stupid questions, that is certainly one of them.
Yeah. Who needs an empire anyway? I was being very sarcastic there, of course.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Who was always being sarcastic? Who needs an empire anyway? Anything else? What sucked?
I don't know if I know what the surroundings look like. I can't get a good picture aside from kind of just imagining like black. Like I guess my mental picture is kind of blackish stone with some gold inlays on it.
Let's see. I think there was this description a couple of weeks ago. Let's see. What does the description say? Because they're in the room of ministers, and I think there was a description a few weeks ago of that. But then, of course, there's been a lot of jawing around since then.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, let me see if was there a description? Did I have a description of it? Because I know there was something. There was something upon entering the rooms. Mbawa, the young prince, like grandson of the late emperor, noticed the chairs normally reserved for the ministers had been commandeered. Okay, the ministers knelt behind that. Okay, let's see. The seats were placed around an oval table, which formed a loop around the imperial box. The loop was broken by a stairway leading up to the box. The box, of course, was empty. Anything else here? The room of ministers seemed more solemn than ever before, and that only partly because the goat-shaped chandelier had each of its many-colored candles lit. Let's see.
Okay, there's some neat imagery there. Maybe you could introduce like just some little reminders throughout the scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay, where? Let me see. Sorry, I have to go back to my notes.
Maybe like have like somebody tapping their fingers against the oval table, or somebody being bored and looking up at the goat-shaped chandelier.
Reminders of scene. Okay. Okay, so there's that. Which chapter is this anyway?
Yeah, other than that, I thought it was really good. I like the character interplay. I like the politics happening. It feels like there's some definite progression going on. It's interesting to see who's going to be the new major antagonist going forward in this story now that the Emperor is dead, which could lead to something more interesting if somebody much more competent takes the throne. That's going to be very intriguing, to say the least.
Yeah, he has a very different personality. He's just over it. He's just stupid. He's very sarcastic, and this is actually chapter 16. Sorry, making a note. Chapter 16.
Kind of reminds me of Narnia Prince Caspian, where specifically the movie, because Sepespian is replaces Miraz as the primary antagonist of the battle at the end.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Since he's not really a much of a character in the book, and he just kills Miraz for his insult, and then they blame the Norwegians, and a fight happens. And I believe I think it's actually Glazelle that gets beheaded by Peter right after, in the middle of the battle, the second battle of Verona.
Yeah, I've forgotten how.
I mean, they're interchangeable, anyways.
Pretty much. I mean, one of them's a little bit more bitter than the other, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. They're just evil henchmen who are plotting against their master thing. Which, fine. Which, hey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which, fair enough. But was he sarcastic too?
I don't recall.
Okay.
I think he might have had one scene of sarcasm where he says, "First our prince, now his tutor."
Okay. Yeah, it's been a long time, so I don't remember very many details.
Yeah. I don't remember any of the details. It's been decades since I read Narnia books.
Yeah, well, the film was different to the books.
Except The Magician's Nephew. That one's good.
Yeah, I mean, that's the best one. The others are pretty good too, but that one's the best one.
Yeah. I think that it is actually really interesting, the ending of. I actually really like the last battle for whatever reason. Maybe I'm just a dark mother sucker.
Yeah.
I don't like that they left out Susan though.
Yeah. That was weird.
Well, here's the thing. I would say that Lewis use Susan as kind of a stand-in for himself. And since Susan didn't die, there was a chance that she could get in. That she could get back there later. It just kind of depends.
Yeah, I hope so. There's also the fact that Susan partly represents things, the kind of young female who's obsessed with like makeup and jewelry and all that he found like for some reason really, really irritating.
Like that.
Oh God, make me a normal 20th century girl. Thanks to our efforts, this is the devil talking. Thanks to our efforts, that will increasingly make me a moron, a parasite, and a minx. I'm not sure what a minx is, but I think it's like a vamp or something.
It's just a classy way of calling someone a slut.
Yeah. Figures.
Impudent, cunning, or boldly flirtatious, or young woman. Girl or young woman.
Yeah.
It's actually interesting. Its origin was mid-16th century, denoting a pet dog.
Okay.
I would have thought it would have been a cat.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. And then kind of another one is a sexually attractive and playful woman who often causes trouble. So, also meaning promiscuous, a mistress, other woman in an extramarital relationship, or prostitute. So yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like how a slut is a girl who will sleep with anyone except me.
That's accurate. Yeah, that's
that kind of idea.
Yeah, that's actually unfortunately very accurate of a lot of very, very stupid young men.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not that they're mad at a girl being a slut. It's a matter of, why is she being slutty to me?
Pretty much. Yeah. So Lewis has this interesting moments of mild misogyny.
Yeah.
It's like it's mild and like it comes and goes, so it's not like complete. It comes and goes.
Mm-hmm.
Anyhow, is it about my turn then?
Yep.
All right. Okay. So, if we recall from last week, Shenna had a really, really successful time doing her first project for the consortium, and she got a huge bonus, which she now has to spend. And just in time for a big old party to celebrate Hendrika being promoted to Master Angara's position. And this is a long one, so I'm going to have to break this up into two parts. So this will be part 1 for this week of chapter 37, Hendrika's promotion. A celebration, you say? Elira's musical voice glittered with delight as she walked beside Shenna alongside the lakeshore promenade in the crisp morning air. And out on the lake? Right out there, actually, Shenna said, pointing out across the waters to the distant outline of Master Angara's private island, just barely visible against the cloudless morning sky. Can you see it? It must be an estate of some magnificence, Elira said. I should expect no less from a gentleman of such wealth as this Master Angara of yours. I've been out there once before, Shenna said. It's a really incredible place. Do you want to come? I'm sure there'll be lots of important people there. I wish I could, Elira sighed. Alas, Terracine and I are committed to another engagement tonight. The next time, perhaps. Of course, Shenna said, though she wasn't quite sure what good that promise would do. Hendrika, after all, would not be due to retire for a good long time to come. In any event, the celebration was not due to start until the evening. In the meantime, Shenna had 3 Raj to spend, and Elira's company to help her spend it. Their first trip focused on carpets, wall hangings, draperies. For the walls in Shenna's apartment were still of all naked stone, and there were plenty of rooms without carpets and windows without curtains. They took a quick trip back to Clearwater to arrange the carpets and hang the drapes and the tapestries, and then it was back to Lakeshore again to visit a furniture showroom. Elira was determined to pick out a standing table, 2 more chairs, a few bookcases, a looking glass, and at least 2 wardrobe cabinets, no doubt in preparation for the next trip. While following Elira through the showroom, Shenna noticed one particular piece, a large square table with elegantly carven legs, with dark lines inset atop its surface in a grid pattern. 2 small velvet bags sat upon the table, one white and the other black. "A stones board!" Shenna exclaimed. She recognized the grid at once, but she had never seen a stones board so grand as this one. "Attendant," she called out to one of the young men following her and Elira, "I'd like this piece added to my order, please." "Ah, so you play," Elira said as the attendant went about preparing the stones board to transport. "I used to watch games during festival times back in Riverwatch," Shenna explained. "I even played a few matches myself. They said I was pretty good at it. What about you? Do you play?" "Oh no, not me," Elira said. "I was always keen to watch, of course. The men used to play at stones all the time in Cleth. But of course I never played the game myself. It is most improper of a noble maiden to play at games of strategy, or so I'm told." "Told by whom, I wonder?" Shenna remarked. "Why, by Teresine, of course," Elira said. "She's quite knowledgeable upon these matters, you know, and she's always looking out for my best interests and the interests of the family. Oh, I suppose she can be a little overwhelming at times, but she means well." "How exactly is Teresine related to you?" Shenna asked. "Is she your sister? Your aunt? Your mother?" "Teresine is my second cousin once removed," Elira said. "I understand," Shenna said, determined not to expose her ignorance by asking for a clarification. "My great-father to the 2nd degree was her great-father to the 3rd degree," Elira said. "It's a curious thing, given our respective ages, but it actually places me higher in clan precedence than she does. Is that not amusing?" In the end, Elira found the 2 wardrobes that she insisted Shenna needed. They and all the rest of Shenna's substantial purchase were carried back to the Clearwater apartment on a great procession of cargo barges, and once there, a company of store attendants hefted the purchase up to Shenna's apartment and arranged it all according to Elira's direction. Indeed, while the attendants were there, Elira insisted that they take the opportunity to move Shenna's bed to a different location. It was, after all, dreadfully improper, according to her, for a single room to serve as both a study and a bedchamber. Their next trip took them to Taylor's Landing, where, just as expected, Elira led Shenna on a tour of all the best and most celebrated clothiers, dressmakers, corsetiers, cosmeticists, jewelers, hatters, haberdashers, and other such professionals in the district. Shenna had made the terrible mistake of revealing that she had not actually purchased any new clothes for herself since their last trip with Elira to Taylor's Landing a year earlier, and Elira had at once proclaimed it her solemn duty to render desperately needed aid to her poor yet suddenly deliriously wealthy friend. By the early afternoon, they were back in Clearwater, loading their purchases into the wardrobes, in what Elira had declared Shenna's dressing chamber. She briefly suggested purchasing a 3rd wardrobe when it became clear that a substantial portion of Shenna's purchase would not fit in the 2 already present, but Shenna insisted that she was perfectly fine with simply storing the leftovers in a cedar chest. "I suppose you will wish to slip into something more to your liking," Elira suggested once they were done. "Not just yet," Shenna said. "There's one last thing we have to see to in Lakeshore." A short while later, they were back in Lakeshore, standing before a shop in one of the central market plazas. White lamps flickered in the window beside the door. illuminating the window displays of magical devices, each with a small placard announcing the device, its function, and its price. The sign above the window read, Hendrika's Workshop, and several other signs announced, Devices sold and repaired. Licensed magic dealer. We purchase used crystals. The moment they entered the shop, Hendrika appeared out of the back room. Shanna! She cried out, quickly crossing the sales floor to join the newcomers. So nice of you to drop by. I wanted to wish you congratulations on the promotion, Shanna said, offering her hand to shake. I'm just finishing up the final inventory in the back, Hendrika explained. I want everything to be perfect when I hand the store over tomorrow. Of course, I'm still open if you want to purchase anything. Shanna and Elira trooped about the shop, listening to Hendrika explain the purpose of each device available for sale. There were the obvious items, of course, like lamps, pens, heaters, coolers, humidity wards, basic household amenities that any properly furnished dwelling in Akra should possess. There were also weather cloaks, Manamborsa bowls, and water sifters, like the ones Shanna had used on her trip to Sparks Valley with Magistress Karna. And then there were the truly strange objects that Shanna had never even thought of before, such as a small band of metal, like a circlet or tiara, with the milk-white orb of a glass moon set in the center, like a proud jewel in the diadem of a queen. Clever, isn't it? Hendrika remarked as she saw the glass moon draw Shanna's interest. It's based off an old design my great-father came up with for the miners up in Sparks Valley. Pretty handy for working or reading during those late nights. Would you like one? Shanna graciously accepted the offer and added it to her order, along with half a dozen extra lamps, a pair of heaters and coolers, and a humidity ward, an essential tool if she intended to start a personal library. She also picked up a dozen fully charged small-grade crystals to power all the devices. I bet you're excited about the promotion, Shanna remarked as Hendrika loaded all the devices into a small crate for her. Oh, absolutely, Hendrika said. It's an honor to have even been considered for the position. Are you nervous? Well, I was at first, Hendrika said. Master Angara's not going to be easy to replace, but we've spoken together a lot recently, and he's assured me that I really have what it takes to do the job. It sounds silly, I know, but if you're around Master Angara for long enough, you start to... it's hard to describe, but you can almost hear your own dreams and ambitions whispering in your ear. I don't know if that makes any sense. I think I understand what you mean, Shanna said. She hadn't yet had the chance to spend much time with Master Angara, but there was no denying the man's wealth of wisdom. Shanna paid for the devices once Hendrika was done packing, and then she and Elira departed the store with one final congratulations. Back at the apartment, Shanna set about hanging up the remaining lamps in the new chambers, until Elira abruptly appeared in the doorway with a pair of maidservants in tow. When Shanna demanded an explanation, Elira only laughed and said, Why, to dress you for the evening, darling. But it's not evening yet, Shanna protested, though she knew it was hopeless to refuse Elira when she was determined to aid a friend. Best to be prepared well ahead of time, Elira said, already shepherding Shanna along to the dressing chamber. Now come along, darling. You want to look your best for tonight. Before she could protest any further, Shanna was standing before the tall looking-glass in her dressing chamber, keeping as still as she could as the servants went about the work of dressing her. Elira watched from the corner, beholding the scene and occasionally offering a comment. Shanna watched as her outfit took shape, a skirt of shimmering black silk, a lilac blouse with wide hanging sleeves, a necklace of amethysts bound upon a silver chain, long, slender purple gloves of soft satin, and a violet corset with elegant swirling patterns worked into its velvet surface. There we are now, Elira said as the servant stepped aside to present the results of their labors. I just knew you were a perfect match for that corset, darling. You're sure to catch the eye of some handsome young gentleman tonight. Oh, I don't know if I'm ready for that, Shanna said, recalling the unpleasantness with Gareth. Oh, nonsense, darling, Elira said. I'm sure you'll find someone suitable. What about that gentleman that always comes by to collect you in the mornings? What was his name again? You mean Sebastian? Yes, Sebastian, Elira said. He's quite the dashing young fellow, don't you think? Have you ever considered pursuing his affections? No, Shenna stammered. I mean, I haven't given much thought to... I can play the courier if you're feeling shy, Elira said with a touch of conspiracy on her voice. How about a friendly game of stones while we wait? Shenna offered, more out of a frantic need to change the subject than an actual desire to play. Elira was already implacable enough. Shenna dreaded the idea of letting her play the matchmaker. Oh, I suppose one little game shan't do any harm, Elira accepted. Just please don't tell Terracine. My lips are sealed, Shenna said. As it happened, Elira was actually terribly good at stones. Far better than Shenna, in fact. Almost as soon as the game began, Elira took a spectacular lead, which only grew wider as the game progressed. She continued to insist up and down that she had never actually played the game before, but many of her moves were accompanied by a short recollection of when she had seen an uncle or a brother or some other kinsman make a similar gambit in another game. Before long, the final tally was rung up, with Elira overwhelmingly the winner. Oh, dear me, but that was fun, Elira said. Oh, Shenna, darling, would you begrudge another match? Not at all, Shenna said, eager to get even. But vengeance eluded her. The second match proved much the same as the first. Despite a far more aggressive opening from Shenna, Elira deftly foiled her gambits and regained the upper hand with ease. Ah, a clever start, Elira said. I once observed such a play by my cousin, Perion and Shandaval, soaring bird of Liran and Tanith, when he played against a visiting wine merchant. It worked quite marvellously that time, I believe. But I also witnessed the same gambit fail quite spectacularly when he tried it against my great father. As I recall, he did something rather like this. Oh dear, I could have sworn I placed a stone right there along the edge there. Shenna looked. Sure enough, one of Elira's stones had vanished from the board. Shenna leaned over to the side of the game table. Had it slipped over the edge? Maybe it had skittered beneath the table itself. Hopefully it hadn't slipped into a crevice or rolled out the doorway and into a canal. It would be such a pain to have a stone already missing from the set. It was only when Shenna returned to her upright position when she noticed Athanasius standing beside her. In his beak he held a single white stone, the very stone that had just vanished from the board. He's trying to help me cheat. Perhaps that was from the previous match, Shenna said, quietly slipping the stone into her gloved hand. Yes, you're right, it probably was, Elira shrugged. Anyhow, as I was saying, I believe the counter-gambit went something like this. But alas, even with Ath's clandestine aid, Elira's march of conquest could not be stopped. By the end of this game, Shenna had only managed to improve from completely hopeless to utterly dismal. Mercifully, Sebastian's arrival foiled Elira's offer of a third game. Shenna could only take so much humiliation in a single sitting. Sebastian had also opted for a finer outfit for the occasion, trading his characteristic blue tunic for a double-breasted waistcoat with silver buttons and pinstripes, and upgrading his ordinarily unassuming shoes to tall boots of polished black leather. He made a congenial remark about Shenna's gown as she took her seat in the pleasure barge, and Shenna returned the compliment as they set off for Master Angara's estate. As the journey progressed, Shenna found herself glancing back at Sebastian again and again. He really was quite handsome. True beauty was cheap in Acre, but at least he put in the effort to maintain his appearance, which was more than can be said for most men. And beyond appearances, he was always so wonderfully polite and encouraging, and clearly dependable as well, with a steady job that paid at least comparably well with her own. Perhaps Elira was onto something after all. Something wrong? Sebastian said, raising an eyebrow. No, not at all. Shenna quickly turned away, her cheeks flushing to match the western sun setting in the sky. Once the frantic pounding of her heart had slowed, Shanna began to consider the idea of courtship with Sebastian. The two of them would certainly make a strong couple, what with both being members of the consortium. Sure, at present, Shanna knew hardly anything about Sebastian's background, but what a better way to begin blazing a trail to his heart than by asking about such things? Perhaps once this little celebration was over, Shanna could invite Sebastian up for a cup of tea. Or perhaps a game of stones? A practical working gentleman like him certainly wouldn't possess Elira's degree of skill at the game. And if he also bested her, well, then it would stand as a testament to an admirable intellect. And I think we will leave it there for the week.
Okay, very nice.
Ooh, milliners. That's a good one. I'm going to look that up.
Oops. Hello, sorry, yikes. Getting lunch, and I need to write myself a note. So I just had a thought.
Ooh, yes. See, I like this. It is a person who sells women's apparel, accessories, and other decorative goods, especially those originally manufactured in Milan.
Oh, okay. That must be what it's from. Milan Milliner. Okay.
Yeah, so that's the idea. That's the thing. When you have a fantasy world like this, you don't want to include, obvious references to the real world.
Yeah.
Hence how I described the ottoman in Shanna's apartment as being that strange footstool with the cushion that she still didn't quite know the name of. And that's probably as much as I'm gonna actually describe it.
Yeah. Oh, whoops. Sorry. Coming. Delivery. Sorry.
No worries.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really liked the how the little characterization that you guys had for
Hendrika?
Hendrika, yeah. The whole Stones game. I thought it was very, very clever.
Or Elira, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see. Other things. I like the little romance that seems to be starting. I think it's very cute.
Yes. Join me next week.
Oh, very nice.
Right. But yeah. Okay. Yeah. I want to hear what else Valerian has to say.
Yeah.
Let's see. What else?
Yeah, I can't think of anything. Like, what were some things that you wanted to accomplish with this?
Well, that's the thing. This is mostly set up for the second half, and unfortunately, it's about It's about as long again as what I presented. So. But it's mostly just just like filling up the apartment with nice, comfortable stuff and enjoying the new delirious luxury. Which is going to become important at the very end of the chapter.
Okay.
Anyhow, I am debating whether or not to. I don't know how much I can say without giving away a plot twist, but there's the idea of when Hendrika's around Master Angara, she can hear whispers of her own ambition.
Sorry. What was that about Whispers of Ambition?
Yeah, that was a little piece of the that I'm not so sure about whether I'm going to include that.
Yeah. I mentioned I have a crush on Elira. Actually, Elira reminds me a little bit of La Soralene.
That's a good comparison. That is definitely an influence.
Yeah, now that you mention it, yeah, and it's just kind of funny that Aramis freaking like both likes and hates Lesser Aileen.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a similar, kind of a similar dynamic.
Yeah.
Which is cool. It's hard to write women doing female stuff if you're a chap, which is why, despite my main character, like 2 or 3 of my main characters being female, I don't get into a lot of the female stuff. Yeah. So, because it's difficult to do. George R. R. Martin is really good at that too.
Yeah, which is surprising. I guess he probably gets his wife to help a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well. Anyways, any last thoughts? What was it you were thinking about? Whether Shen was going to blackmail Elira? That's something.
I was just saying things. Yeah, I'm sure she. You mean tell if we don't pay up, I'm going to tell Terracine that they play this game. So, is it true that Elira never played the game, or is she just saying that?
Oh, she watched it for a very, very long time. She almost certainly is like chafing against these rules that are being forced upon her, and sort of found a way of sort of getting around them by watching other people play it and by watching other people play, sort of learning vicariously through that.
I wonder if that's partly why she made friends with Shenna, too.
Yeah.
Because Terracine, Shenna's not the sort of person that Terracine would approve of.
Not at all.
Yeah.
I'm actually trying to find a good place to put a scene where Shenna eavesdrops on the two of them, and Terracine saying, "You need to stay away from that girl. She's a bad influence." And Elira just saying, "Shove off. This is my life.
This is my life.
It's my life."
She has to find a ladylike way of saying that. Or maybe she doesn't. Maybe she just says. Maybe she just ups and says it. I don't know.
Fair point.
Who I associate with is no concern of yours, so long as she's a respectable woman, which Shanna definitely is. Or words to that effect.
Or just, point out that, Shinna's got more money than they do.
Yeah, there's also that.
I've always really, really loved I've always kind of liked the phrase "more money than God." It's honestly really, really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, what does God need with money, anyways?
He kind of doesn't. No.
Not really.
Yeah, isn't like money evil or something?
The love of money.
The love of money is, but money in itself is a neutral.
Yeah, that's how it goes in scripture. The root of love of money is the root of evil. Radix malorum est cupiditas in Latin. I have no idea what it is in the Greek. But it was a popular phrase in the Middle Ages too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very much so long as you are using your money to do the right thing, it doesn't matter if you have a lot of money. Like Nicodemus and Joseph of Arimathea were both freaking rich. For example. And they're the guys in the Gospels that are the guys who paid for Jesus's burial and the oils to like put the preservatives on the body.
Yeah. Yeah. However, I don't think Jesus would have liked Jeff Bezos very much.
Oh, definitely not. That's because
or Elon Musk either.
Yeah. I don't know about Elon Musk though. Like Elon Musk hates hypocrites a lot. And I haven't seen I really don't know much about Elon Musk other than a lot of people on the left hate him for basically allowing freedom of speech on Twitter. That's the main thing that people hate him for.
You mean allowing Nazis back on Twitter?
That's not how I heard it. How I heard it was that he does allow conspiracy theorists and all that, but he tends to suppress views he doesn't agree with. That's what I've heard.
Probably because he's suppressing left-wing views.
Yeah, but I mean, I suppose if you think it's better to suppress left-wing views than right-wing views, and that constitutes freedom of speech, then yeah, you might think he's better.
I haven't heard of him suppressing anything on the left.
Yeah, but you probably don't. You probably don't read left-wing publications. That's why.
Yeah, I don't read.
He's also just being really shitty to the employees at his Tesla factory.
Yeah, that's kind of par for the course for billionaires, unfortunately.
Yeah. So, yeah, I know he's been made a hero of on the left of on the right of free speech, but then the right are very inconsistent when it comes to free speech anyway. So,
frankly, as far as it takes, just for the right, anyone who actually lets them say the nasty stuff they want to say is enough of a hero of free speech. That's all they really mean. There's someone who allows them to, someone who will let them say that, all the horrible things they want to say.
Yeah, and it's not like Twitter
won't call them out on it.
It's not like Twitter suppressed left-wing views on the right-wing views before him. I mean, he used to call Donald Trump the tweeter in speech, so it's not like the right were exactly suppressed before Elon Musk took over.
I mean, they couldn't say the N-word a whole bunch of times.
Yeah. Well,
they got statistics on this sort of thing.
Fair point. Yeah, I don't use Twitter enough. That's just been my assessment since the I hear really vaguely why they hate Elon Musk and why they don't like what he's done to Twitter, but not say that they hate what he's done to Twitter, but I never see like specifics. Like Preston Jacobs has complained about him a couple of times, but he hasn't gone into depth about why he doesn't like Elon Musk and why he hates what he's done to Twitter.
Oh, you could do a super chat about it on one of his live streams and find out.
Perhaps, but
Anyways,
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, Elon Musk and Elira both begin with EL.
Fair point. My thing's going to be really quick. It's only about a couple of pages, especially since I need to get going, so it works out fine. All right. So I'll just read this really quick. So at this point, the Azrith are trying to get reinforcements to the Darkmouth to make it so that they can stop the Shi army. And Kamul and Farah have ridden to grab as many horsemen from the army as possible. Farah reigned in Wraith next to Kamul as they arrived at Wraith itself, the Olintian army that had been camped there still before the city. Kamul stood at almost as still as his horse as he stared at the walls, his helmet concealing his expression. Clearly seeing the horned helm from afar, a group of Brathen soldiers rode out, all in the one-piece helmets with spiked wings on the forehead and overlapping metal scales on the arms that their military preferred. The horsemen rode up to Kamul, all of them pulling out their helms to reveal their faces. They were a variety of ages, some grizzled, some young and boyish, and a couple in between. "It's good to see you, Kamul," one of them, a boyish-looking man with bright golden hair, remarked as he clasped the warlord's hand. "Is it almost time for the Olindians to march off?" "Yes, and we march with them." Kamul's voice held little emotion as he let out a long, deep breath. A new enemy has revealed itself. Olyntius was destroyed by a massive tidal waves, and they're marching this way to try and conquer us by force. The grizzled veterans exchanged looks of consternation with their younger fellows. "What kind of enemy?" a bearded man asked. "An unusual people, an unnatural people," Farah put in. "Monsters from the depths of the sea, some large as these walls, others there's twisted approximations of humans. Savage, bloodthirsty creatures from the depths of the forest that will sacrifice you on their altars to appease their evil magics." More concerned looks are exchanged. "Kamul, is what she's saying true?" A sallow-faced man asked, gray eyes fixed on his leader. "I haven't seen these creatures," Kamul said honestly. "But what I did see a wave of impossible height destroy the greatest civilization the world has ever seen in less than a day without any warning. That caught their attention. And they're coming for us." The boyish man adjusted his reins, seeming rather emotionless. "Yes," Kamul said calmly. "If we don't fight, we'll be enslaved to worse masters than we fought against, or dead." For a moment, the men exchanged looks. Then they turned to Kamul. "If you say it, if you lead us, we will fight," the man with the beard said calmly. Farah nodded. Kamul nodded, though Farah could tell he was relieved. The loyalty and trust that these men placed in the tall warlord impressed Farah, just as much as seeing him treat, then train, the shadow-tainted Olintians. He was able to inspire such loyalty in his men. His talisman would only amplify his abilities. "Then we ride soon," Farah put in. "My brother and your friend Amora are both holding off a large army of Shi at the Darkmouth. If we don't move soon, that the enemy will swarm into the gap." "We only have 4,000 trained cavalry that can ride that fast," bearded man relayed. "And we only have 10,000, Farah glanced at her army. 14,000 horsemen riding at speed. We should reach them within 5 days. 5 days to the Darkmouth, the boyish one said. "Are you planning on killing the horses?" "No," Kamul clenched his fist. the gauntlet on the gem on his gauntlet glowing. Instantly, the men gasped and flexed their hands and looked down at their hands as if they had just felt a surge of strength. The animals reacted in a similar fashion, stomping their hooves as if eager to run. I will strengthen you with the power of my gauntlet, and when we go into battle, it will be as a lion falling on a pack of unprepared wolves. Farah quite liked this side of Kamul. He'd seen himself asserting himself and placing the sergeants in charge, but the way he talked with the other Braven lords was a different matter. It was a conversation between a first among equals, not a king with his underlings. They trusted him, and likely would die for him. Prepare the horses, and we'll nod to his friends. We ride as soon as we can. And that's it.
Short and sweet.
Mm-hmm.
So when the I might have missed this earlier, but when the gem on his gauntlet glows, is that that's a sign of magic?
Yep, that's a sign that he's using it. Yeah.
Okay.
You realize that Mithril card will done you for the lot of it afterwards.
Well, Bill? Ella?
Yes.
Well, there's some things money can't buy. For everything else, there's Mithra card.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh, I did like the description. The unusual people, unnatural people, people from the depths of the oceans. I got a pretty bit of an Innsmouth vibe from that.
Yes, that is definitely the idea of these creatures.
Good.
Your name also means to bill, right?
I did not. No, that's well, that what, that's appropriate considering how much I bill you on in terms of my annoying you.
Yeah. I think I'm going to have to take you to court on that one because I think the amount was more than the actual bill ought to have been. Yeah, I think the amount of annoyance was beyond what we agreed on before when we signed the contract.
Isn't that how it always is?
Sorry?
Isn't that how it always is?
Yeah. There's probably small print or something in there.
It's just like, yeah, I think there are only a few off-limits things like sausages.
Yeah.
Which I need to do a bet where we watch that movie at some point.
Oh no.
Yeah, I wonder which will be worse, that or Your Highness.
Your Highness was pretty bad.
Yeah, Your Highness was pretty dang awful.
We did have a cute lizard, and I think there was a cute bird too. But apart from that,
yeah, it was basically a D&D with stoner humor. Any other thoughts before we conclude?
Not particularly. Not yet.
Okay. All right. Well,
maybe Mithril card really will done them for a lot of it. I mean, usually if you use magic items from dubious sources, something bad happens.
Oh yes. Well, we've gotten little things like their what is it? Their bodies eventually are going to fade to nothing but scraps of spirit encased in their armor.
Yeah, I guess that would be that might be annoying.
All right. Well, we'll call it good. And tomorrow we will get into Rings of Frickin' Power.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
I look forward to the trash fire. All right. Well, we'll see you guys later. Bye.
See ya.
Bye.